Hello everyone, welcome to Double Bill Movies. I'm Trevor and I'm in a very different location to what you normally see me in. Now, this may look like some boring road in the middle of a forest somewhere, but it is not. This is quite a famous piece of corner actually. This piece of road features in Goldfinger, James Bond, and this is where the Aston Martin comes racing around this corner here. I think probably just after it has ejected the villain from the car, and now there's going to be more that I'm going to talk about than just this location and just this corner, but just thought I'd start here because that way should be where I want to get to. So the reason for this video, I have decided to start a little series about how DVDs and Blu-rays and I guess 4Ks are created. As you may have picked up from some of my videos, I used to be in the industry, and I've done mostly quality assurance, which is basically working on check discs, and but I did do 1 year at Sony where it is a proper authoring house and worked on films from scratch basically. And over this little series I want to take you through the process, what I can remember anyway, because it's been some years since I've done it. So right, just going for a nice little walk. Don't really want to pick up on too many other people's conversations, but they are here. This is a public place, so we'll have to put up with it, eh? Let's get a bit further down here. So last time I was here, I was recovering from my bout of cancer. I was not able to walk very well. I didn't have much energy, but clearly now I am much fitter and much stronger. And clearly my hair is growing back. If you haven't really worked out from, you can barely see my wedding picture in the background of my videos, but I used to have really long hair and I want to get back to that. So anyway, back to the subject matter, and that is manufacturing of DVDs and Blu-rays. So let's start with working at Sony, because that's where I got to do most aspects of the process. And so it would start with the assets, that's all the video clips and the subtitles, being delivered to the company on what we call a HD Cam SR tape. Basically it's a supersized VHS, but it is digital and it can hold all the video files fully uncompressed. So they would come into the building. Then what would have to be done is all the assets from those tapes will have to be ingested, and then once we would have them in the system, we could then compress them in the relevant format for either Blu-ray or DVD. So before the ingest would happen, someone would have to do a QAR test, and basically this is watching what's on the tape, checking all the different audio channels, making obviously sure that there's no pixelation or anything like that in the picture, making sure that it's as pristine as it could be before it gets encoded and compressed, and then all the same sort of checks be done over again in the process before it gets to the final disc. Now so we'd load the tape into the machine. Now you might think, oh well, it's just some kind of fancy VHS machine. Well, it kind of was, and believe me, if I could have one of these at my home and have all my films on these HD Cam SR tapes, I would, because the picture quality is any picture anomalies you might see in your Blu-rays or your 4Ks. Like on my video where I mentioned in the Dyatlov Pass incident that there was heavy colour banding in the dark scenes. None of that would be present. And I've done a few QAR sessions, so I got to see, can't remember what the films were, but I did get to see a couple of the titles with this amazing uncompressed picture. And obviously even your 4K picture is compressed, so to see it fully uncompressed is just something to behold. I guess it's even closer to what John of Movie Collector would say being a real film, celluloid, you know. And anyway, so I did a couple of these QAR tests, and so you set the machine up, you have to select the relevant channels and assets that you're on. Then you go into the viewing room, and you have all the studio equipment that you may have seen in some of the bonus features on some of the films you like watching, where they have the jog wheels and they can go frame by frame and all this, that and the other. So you sit there, you start watching, and any anomalies, any pops, cracks that are too loud, because they may, if it's an old film, there'll be pops and cracks and things, and you know, there's not much you can do about those. But if they're there and they're going to take away from your pleasure of watching the movie, then something will be done about them. So bearing in mind, this will be repeated probably 5 or 6 times before it gets to a final Blu-ray or DVD, and that would just be a check disc, not a manufactured disc that you have in your hands. So if it is required that a check disc is checked by a third-party company, which is what I used to do at the previous job before Sony, then, and depending on how many languages there are, either audio wise or how many subtitle streams there are, the content could be watched another 10-15 times. But anyway, so yeah, you do the QAR test, and once all that's fine and signed off, then it can be ingested. So the ingest is done, and then someone would have to sit and watch all the files that had been ingested to make sure they ingested correctly. This is before it's even gone onto a disc. So yeah, before this goes onto a disc. Anyway, as you can see, we've done a lot before we've even got to a physical disc, and of course that's not anywhere near going to be the final disc that you get in your hand. So so let's see, let's turn and go down here, shall we? My wife's around there somewhere, she's behind me. She's trying to stay out of the way because she doesn't want to be involved, and that's fair enough, I totally understand that. But yeah, so where was I? So let's say we finished the QAR test and the ingest has been done, and someone's checked that. So then the producers, the people that talk to the studios and get the assets from them, find out what assets are to go on the disc, because ultimately the disc we'd be making are what the studio wants. So they would be the ones liaising with the big studios. I mean, obviously when I was at Sony, it was mainly Sony, but we did do some things for the BBC and a few other studios. So I would be upstairs, and the producers, they would then set the assets, give them to the graphic designers, and they would start putting together the menus. I mean, first of all, obviously they would burn just the video, no subtitles, and obviously just one audio stream to a disc, so that someone could then watch a disc. So you load the disc, there's no menu, the feature just starts straight away, and when it ends, it just ends, and it's just a blank screen. So let's see what else. Yeah, so in this time, the graphic designers, like I said, they'd be constructing the menus, setting up all the buttons and everything, and so basically each little process would add more and more. So once the main feature video had been watched and the audio was fine, and so that we knew the ingest was fine, then a menu would be added. So not even the load sequence. So don't forget, when you put a disc in, you have a load sequence. You'll have your various warnings. You'll have maybe some studio logos. You may have some trailers. But before that, you might have a language selection menu, which on DVD anyway was called the initial selection menu. And then, so just a simple menu would be there to start with. I mean, most of what we did at Sony were just single language titles, none of your big sort of Disney ones with 20 different languages on, or anything like that. So still trying to remember all this. It's been, like I said, a long time since I've done it, and just trying to get everything in the right order and not to sound too confusing. But I'll probably stop this in a minute because I haven't quite got to where I wanted to be. So maybe that location can wait for another time. But so anyway, yeah, let's stop with the first menu has been added to the disc. So someone would have sat and picked some chapter points. Now I did this once, and I spent ages. I was trying to pick some points that made sense, and that were, you know, so a chapter was at least 5-10 minutes long, and actually my boss had a go at me and said I took way too long, and he just sort of said, oh, just pick a, you know, when a camera changes or something, you know, a shot changes, just pick it there. And so I've seen some chapter points, and if you have any universal discs and you bring up the navigation bar, and you see the chapter points, you see some of them are right next to each other, and it's like, well, isn't that pointless, eh? It's not really a chapter. So yeah, that's just saving time and money, I suppose. Can't remember the title that I did the chapter points for, but it was kind of fun. And so where are we? Yep. So you got your simple menu and then the feature, and again, this is before all your full load sequence is added. And that's kind of, let's see, so step one, the HD Cam SR tape is viewed in the QAR session. Step two, the ingest. That obviously takes I think a few hours, because there's a hell of a lot of information, and they want to make sure it gets imported properly. And then step three, checking that the ingest has worked. So that's the second watch through already, and this is before disk. So the ingest, you know, will be on the computer system, so it won't be needed to be on a disk. It will just be, and I'm guessing they ingest it in the format they want, or do they ingest it then they encode it? I think that's probably the case. I was never really involved in that aspect of things, so I'm not 100% sure. But if any of you out there are, and you know, and you can correct me and let me know, then that would be great. So yeah, after the the ingest, then the encode. So obviously DVDs are MPEG 2s. I think Blu-rays are MPEG 4s. Now I do know one title, the original release of Predator, I'm pretty sure was an uncompressed MPEG 2, because if you have a Blu-ray player that shows this information, you will see it says MPEG 2, not MPEG 4. And there's obviously different types of MPEG 4s. So again, different formats. There will be slightly different forms of encode, different forms of compression, and then yeah, so let's stop it at get into the first disc with just the feature and the audio put on, and maybe a simple menu. So if we stop it there, that'll be the end of this this little episode, and hope you found it interesting. Hope I didn't waffle too much. Hope you didn't have to listen to too many other people's conversations. I haven't quite got to where I wanted to be, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to put the phone away now, and I shall edit this when I get home and let you guys see it. So let me know what you think. Please like and subscribe, and if this series interests you, let me know and I'll do more, and probably in some slightly different locations. Anyway, there's Trevor signing off, and cheers, take it easy.